downstairs. He's just helping the girls get settled upstairs so that they're busy while we're doing this, and then we will go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk a bit about canning and why I'm so passionate about it, because I talk about it all the time, right? And I'm going to show you some of my favorite things to can and keep in the pantry, and some of them may be things that you've never thought of, or you've thought of and you've been like, well, how would I, what would I even do with that after I canned it? So we're talking about all of those things today. So hello, Pam, and welcome. Aunt Holly is here. Awesome. Yeah, so how was your day today?
Not too bad. Got some studying done. Just got I always do my school update. Got like 10 days, basically. Sort of. 2 weeks. But hard studying, I'd say about 10 days or so.
And then it's a break before the next term. Not that he's done, right?
Yep. Yeah. And we get a break. A much needed break. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff with the family.
Yep. Looking forward to it. I actually got a couple days cleared on Annie's therapy schedule so that we can do some things.
It'll be good.
It'll be good. Welcome. My collection, is that your mom?
I think so.
I think that's Mama. And yeah. Anything else you want to update on?
No, I think that's about it. I got a test in the morning, and then next Tuesday we have another test, and then next Wednesday is final.
Is the final,
so
yeah. Welcome, Janice. Thanks for joining us. And welcome from Roanoke, Virginia. Allison is here. Thank you for joining us. So last time we talked about how hot it was, and this last week it's rained almost every day. Mm-hmm. My garden looks fantastic. I'd like to take credit for it, but honestly it just needed the rain. I didn't really do anything. But the plants like doubled in size. So now finally feeling like all the effort that I put into it this spring is coming to fruition. Got some nice looking little veggies out there that have been ready to be picked, and it's finally raining, so thank goodness. So welcome. Grammy is here and Debbie is here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So Saturday, if you checked out our Instagram, you probably saw it, and if you don't follow us on Instagram, we're there just as Teal House Farm like we are here, but we had a family canning day. So Sam's mom and our sister-in-law, married to one of his brothers, they wanted to learn how to pressure can, and I had a ton of pressure canning to do, so kind of double dutied and invited them down, and they helped so much, and we got so much done. We canned over 200 jars of things, and everybody got to take stuff home for their pantries, and we were really just able to knock so much out. And the fun part is that all of the stuff that we canned, none of this was stuff for my garden. Like, that's coming later in the season. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions, like that canning is really cool, but if you're not going to grow a 2-acre garden, like, it's not worth your time. And that is not true at all. Canning can save so much money and can add a lot of convenience to your life, even if you never plant one seed in the ground.
Let's see, Pam says her garden is on the way out. It's too hot, not enough rain. Hello, Homestead Nana, and hello, Refining Roots. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, we're doing well today. We're enjoying the cooler weather, the rain, all those good things.
The kids have been outside a lot more.
I've been
last
enjoying
week,
them being outside
since
too.
It hasn't been, a high of 103 or whatever. They've been outside a lot. It's been really nice.
So. Yeah, it is great, Debbie. We're so glad. It feels good. It really feels good to have a well-stocked pantry. It just takes a lot of that stress off. I used to definitely be the type of person who grocery shopped for the week, and by the end of the week, we were like, well, there's a bag of beans and a couple of apples left, and I just planned for the week, and I just shopped for the week. And that's just like, now that I live on the homestead, we're more into like this kind of sustainability, even a little bit of a preparedness lifestyle. Like, I can't imagine. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and living further from grocery stores.
Yeah, we just can't go hop in there.
You can't just jump in and be 5 minutes from a grocery store, a big store anyway. We do have a smaller one, about 20 minutes or so away. But if you want to go to a big grocery store, the closest one is about 45 minutes. So.
Yeah, well, and so that really, I've always wanted to learn how to pressure can, but then how far away we were from the stores, and especially our local store, the closest one, the difference between prices in the summer and in the winter are big. Like, I feel like, especially on produce, and we try to eat somewhat healthy and a lot of, you know, like not processed foods and things like that. And so the winter, like, the cost would just like kill my budget just trying to buy like lettuce and things. And so I kind of, the more I learned about pressure canning, the more I was like, well, why don't I just buy a lot of stuff when it's cheap, whether I'm buying it at there's a farmer's market, or if I'm even just, our local store does sell a decent amount of local produce. I buy it when it's cheap, and I can put it up myself, and this is really good quality local food, so I'm still somewhat supporting local infrastructures, and I can enjoy it all year round. And so that's really where I got a little bit crazy passionate about canning. And now here we are, several years later. I've been pressure canning for maybe 5 years now. I mean, that pantry is, I would say the pantry is more canned, like home canned foods at this point, than it is stuff from the store.
That's very true.
It's just loaded, lined with glass jars.
Hello, Pete. Thanks for hopping in, and Tessa. But that's not to say, if you're at the store and you do find a good deal on some canned foods, like already canned foods, like take advantage of that too. If they're really cheap, go for it.
Yeah, I think the first lesson that I always want to share with people is like, just focus on stocking your pantry however you can, and a little bit at a time. I think a lot of people start, especially in this day and age where there's a lot of that like alarmism, especially on YouTube. People feel really overwhelmed, and they're like, well, I don't have $800 to go double stock my pantry, you know, or whatever. It probably would cost a lot more than that now. And so they feel defeated, and like they don't want to start.
Yeah, before you even start.
Yeah. Don't, like, it's okay. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And one of my favorite channels to watch, which is Jordan Page, and she always talks about the buy three rule. So if you're going to buy something that is shelf sustainable or could be put in your freezer and it's on sale, buy one for now and two for later. And you just very slowly stock up your freezer, stock up your pantry, you know, an extra $20 at a time. Not, I've got to go spend $600.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, if that's canned goods or something like that, that's only like $5.
Right.
So it's not, hopefully you're not going to go broke doing that, just little bit by little bit, especially if it's something that's going to last a long, long time. Pete says, we have a pressure canner, but have yet to overcome the fear, irrational as it may be, that it will explode in our kitchen. I'll pull this closer so I can read it.
And so I have the video we did a video of our family canning day, and we did talk about that because the family that came and helped, one of the big reasons they hadn't started pressure canning is that fear. And it is, it's legitimate. There's a lot of pressure in that canner. That canner explodes on you, and at 11 pounds pressure, I mean, it's going to blow through your roof. It could kill somebody if they got hit with the canner lid. But the canners that are made today are different than the canners that were made like
60,
grandparents' generation, when accidents like that, though they were uncommon, they happened. Canners have safeguards. My canner has two vents. It has a safeguard vent where if the pressure gets too high, like if I were to walk away and forget that I was pressure canning, the extra vent will pop eventually, and it'll just depressurize the canner. So there are safeguards. As long as you are following the rules and being safe, you really don't need to be scared. And I just really want to encourage you that once you can that first load and see how it works and follow the instructions in your canner, you're going to feel a lot more confident, and you'll realize the safety procedures that are there and how that fear isn't something that needs to stop you from pursuing it.
Allison says, threw together dinner with a canned quart of chicken soup, 2 quarts canned broth, and a can each of beans and corn. 5 minutes and healthy.
That's right. That's great.
And Holly says, I try to buy a couple of extras each time I go to the store for my just-in-case pantry. Those are really good ideas. And Debbie says, I hate grocery shopping, period. I grocery shop once a month for 4 to 6 weeks. I stock up but haven't canned. But
stock up, yep.
And Pete says, thinking a good way to start might be doing it outdoors.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
Yeah. And I would also say, if you have a friend that already cans, maybe that would give you a little bit of confidence if you go to their house, like we just did with our family.
Help them out and learn the ropes.
To help them out if there's if there's somebody that you know somewhat close by, just say, hey, I'd like to come help you can one day whenever you've got it. And most people will not say no.
It takes a lot of effort to do all that peeling and chopping, and two or three extra sets of hands make it go so much faster. If you would want to offer an extra hand, I'm sure somebody would help. But yeah, outdoors would be a really good way to start too. Right. And so
there's a lot of people that do that in the summer. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
That's okay.
But they get those big propane stoves, and they'll put 2 or 3. Somebody in here does that, I think.
Yeah, it helps.
I can't remember who it is.
It helps keep your kitchen from getting so hot. So it's very common to do it, for people to do it outside. And we've actually talked about having an outside one, even just so we could run more canners at one time, because my stove is kind of small, and it'll start running out of space to fit the canners on safely, where I'm not, not going to worry about things getting knocked off. But I started with talking about stocking up your pantry, even if you're buying stuff. The things that I'm going to show you that I home can all be home canned. I'm going to show you how I use them. But these things you could also buy canned at the store to stock your pantry with, that help provide more convenient meals, quick meals, and also just to keep your pantry stocked with shelf-stable food. I can tell you how frugal, and we'll talk about it a little bit, how canning can save money, but I realized that there is a money investment to getting it, to getting started. After this is over, I will link the canners that I use in the description. I have 2, and they're both cost about $150 right now on Amazon. And then, of course, you need jars. So this isn't just, a $10 investment. I realize that for some people, investing what probably would be $200 to get started, that's a lot of money. And I don't want you to feel like we don't understand that, because we, when we were getting started, we only got started because a family member bought me a canner as a birthday present. We couldn't afford one. So we first started just stocking our pantry with things you could buy at the store, and then eventually evolved into home canning. So if you're not at a point where you can afford a home canner, there's still a lot of information here that can help you. And I don't want you to feel discouraged, or we think that, canning doesn't cost anything, because there definitely is a startup cost, and that's not attainable for everybody.
Let's see. Camille says, I've been gardening over 10 years, but just started water bath canning. Yep. That's a good way to start. So
in case you're not super familiar, water bath canning is a boiling water canner. It's basically a big pot that you stick your jars in, and you can safely water bath can anything that's a high acid food. So that's basically fruits, pasta sauces that don't have meat in them, jams, jellies, things like that. But low acid foods like your garden vegetables, they need to be pressure canned for safety.
Debbie says, I stock up on beans, rice, noodles, and canned foods. I have 6 months or more stocked up. I've stocked up for years, as I'm 58. That's the way to do it. Iris Lady says, was given a pressure canner. Perfect. And Debbie, I also stock up on freezer food. Pete says, I think my ideal setup would be a wood cook stove out on the porch to pressure can on.
Oh, okay. So this is an interesting topic. We'll talk about this. So we have a wood stove back here, right? And I cook on it. And one of my big goals when we first started was I wanted a wood cook stove, and I was going to pressure can on it. But now that I have cooked a lot on a wood cook stove and pressure canned on the regular stove, I would be very worried about my ability to control the temperature of the stove to keep the pressure even in a pressure canner. They're touchy, is the best way I could say that. I'm not saying it's not possible, and that there are people that absolutely do it, but a wood stove, it can be difficult to keep it consistently hot enough that your canner pressure stays even.
What was the lady we used to watch?
Is it Starry?
Yeah, Starry. She made a video, Starry Hilder. She's had a YouTube channel and didn't have a channel, and I think she's got one now. I'm not sure if it's the same channel title or not, but she and her husband and their sons a long time ago first moved out to a cabin, I think in Idaho, I believe, up in the mountains. And they tried to pressure can on a wood stove, and she kind of basically said the same thing. You can do it. We wouldn't say that you couldn't. But you got to pay really, really close attention to keep your wood stove at that optimum temperature to keep it going. I think if you had a really nice wood stove, that might help, because ours is kind of cheap and it's little. But if you had a nice wood stove, I think it would be possible. But I know Starry Hilder and her family, they did a lot of canning, and they ended up a few years later just purchasing some big propane stoves and did it under their
Right.
porch because it was just a little tough.
Well, and
I guess.
the temperature, the ability to adjust temperature on a wood stove is slower than
That's
a
true.
propane. Propane,
Yeah.
you kind of get that immediate change, where the wood, you got to mess with your ashes and the amount of wood, and then it takes a little bit of time for that to affect the temperature of the stove because it's all like radiant heat in the cast iron. And the propane is the flame, so you turn it down, you turn it up, and there's immediate change. So my recommendation is if you wanted more of an off-grid type system for your canning, just to get that propane burner. I think it's going to save you a lot of headaches because there's nothing worse, because I've been there, that you're canning something that takes 90 minutes and at minute 80, for some reason you went under pressure. If you go under pressure, you have to start the clock over. And how disappointing is it to have to start over when you're at minute 80? So.
Like we said though, like it's definitely doable, and people used to do it, for a long time with the wood stuff. It's just a little harder.
Yep.
Refining Root says, I absolutely love the can. Once I tried it, I was hooked. My favorite is having the broth put up for winter. I try not to touch my broth. I can until the chill comes in. Man, that's my favorite part. Not that I do a lot of canning. Laura does all of it, basically. But is to have some of those meals, like the stew in the winter.
Yep.
Oh, it's absolutely the
I have
best.
so much broth in my pantry too. Like we just had a chicken for dinner tonight, and I just had to throw the bones away because I was like, I don't think I could fit another can of broth, because I don't use it in the summer really, right? Because you're not cooking soups. But then in the winter, we really start going through it.
Hello, Beast Bear. Thanks for joining us. We're doing pretty good.
Allison, this is great because we do this too. You save all your veggie scraps. You just keep a bag in the freezer, right? And you just fill it up with potato skins, carrot skins, whatever. And once you're back, you have one large bag or 2 gallon-sized Ziploc bags. Once they're full, then you can go ahead and make a huge pot of broth, and it's really cost you nothing because you were going to throw those skins away anyway. So.
Hello, Charlie and Judy. Thanks for hopping in, and Adele.
Thanks for joining us.
It is a lot of canning.
Iris Lady says, how often do you need new gaskets? And I'm assuming she's talking on the pressure canner. So the inside of a lid of a pressure canner has a rubber ring. Some of them do. If you buy a very expensive, like an all-American canner,
All-American
it's 100% metal. There is no rubber gasket, from what I understand. But that's like a $500 canner. We do not own that. So we have the $150 one, which has a rubber gasket inside. And basically, how often you change it, that's really variable. It's going to vary depending on your storage conditions. It's going to vary how much you're using your canner. Just the goal is every time that you use your canner, you have to check your gasket. Is it still nice and rubbery? It's not brittle. Does it have any nicks in it? Is it starting to discolor? If you see any problems with it, you need to buy a new one. They are not expensive. They're like $8 or $10.
Yeah, if there's any maybe, just go ahead and do
There's
it.
no maybes in canning. If you have any doubts, replace the part, okay?
And you could, I would say
let me
you
finish her question real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
For me, it's every few years. But somebody could can, every day for 6 months and then need one at 6 months. It just really depends. And also, if you are living somewhere where you can't keep the temperature really even, that'll destroy your, like if it gets really cold in wherever you're storing your canner, that'll destroy your gasket faster, things like that. That's a great question, though.
Let's see. Thanks for subscribing,
Yes,
Beast
thank
Bear.
you.
We appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up,
Squeaky
too.
Tree is here. Thanks for joining us. They have some really good food preservation videos, too, if you guys want to check them out after you're done here. I believe they're the opposite of us. I think they have all boys and one girl. And you can correct me if that's wrong, but we're like opposites.
And Kelly's here from Alabama. And Jepco.
Welcome.
Caught us live.
So anyway, let's talk about my favorite things to keep in the pantry. Just pick one. I have them all assorted in no particular order. Yes, thank you, Pete. If you guys hit the thumbs up button, it does help us in the algorithm a little bit with the YouTube. So okay, so the colors fade in canning jars, so they're not bright and beautiful anymore, but these are multicolored peppers that I grew in the garden last year in cans. You could also just buy peppers when they're on discount and chop them up. But I really like keeping canned peppers in the pantry over frozen peppers because like, you use them the exact same way, and the bonus is that they're not taking up any valuable, expensive freezer space, because freezer space in your freezer is really expensive, and there's certain things that you really just want to have frozen, like canned meat. I use it for some things, but there are a lot of things that I want to use like the raw meat for to cook it fresh, right? And so by taking as many cannibal things out of the freezer as possible, I can really free up space for like the meat products or like frozen fruit that the girls really, because they like to eat it like half frozen. And so peppers is one thing I've stopped keeping in the freezer, and I just can. And I do them in half pint jars because the kids are not big fans of peppers, but Sam and I are. And I use them in like egg casseroles. I'll throw them in stir fries, but I'll throw it in like right at the end because they're already fully cooked. So I'll like take out what the girls are gonna eat and then throw peppers in for us. I also made Philly cheesesteaks not too long ago for us, and I used the peppers in them. It's just nice. It's anywhere you would use a pepper in a quick meal. It's nice. You don't have to do any of the chopping. They're all done. They're already all cooked, so you just throw them in at the very end so they warm up. And it's just handy to have.
Carrie says, just wanted to say hi. I'm on vacation in North Carolina. Have fun.
Yeah, have a good vacation.
She'll watch later. That's the beauty of canning, though, is that you just got to warm it up.
Yeah, it's already fully cooked. So if you use a pickle crisp, the peppers will stay a bit crisper. Okay, thank you, Allison. I will have to try that. So I don't feel like they're super mushy. The peppers don't go in the canner for a super long time. I don't remember what it is. I was going to say 20 minutes, but don't trust me on that one. Go to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, which I'll link below when we're done, and check out the canning times. So they're not really mushy, but if you were wanting to cook them in something longer, I'm trying to think of something that you would want cooked peppers in that you would cook longer than a couple minutes, but then yeah, they would get kind of mushy, so that might be something to consider. So great tip. Okay, the next thing is ham. This isn't spam. This isn't spice. This is ham. We bought a whole hog last year from a local farmer, and you get like 8 million slices of ham, it feels like, which takes up tons of space in the freezer. And so I take a quarter of it and I dice it up and I can it. And this we don't use this too much in the summer, but in the winter I make crock pot like ham and potato cheesy casseroles. This is also good. I fried it up before with a little brown sugar, like a breakfast ham. It really holds itself together pretty well. Excuse me. And and it just makes it super quick because it's already chopped. It's basically just diced ham, and you just throw it in something when you're cooking, and so it's handy to have on the shelf, really. And canned stuff is nice because you've already done all the prep and the dicing, and you just like drain it and dump it out, and it saves you so much time when you're in a hurry. So
Joanne says hi from Canada. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thanks for hopping in.
Is that Ontario, Canada?
Yeah, Ontario.
Awesome. Welcome.
Chatham.
So these are baked beans. I haven't bought Bush's baked beans in forever.
Yeah, it's been a while.
This is not my most beautiful jar, but they still taste great. And so I have a video, and I'll try to link our canning playlist below. But baked beans that you buy in the store are loaded with sugar. Like, it's just sugar syrup. And they're almost like too sweet. At least that's my opinion. And so this is a recipe that uses the bacon ends that you get like when you buy a hog and you're like, what am I going to do with these? And some molasses basically, and it cooks them in your stove for a little bit, and then you can them. And they're still really nice and firm. And I like them because they're sweet, but it's not like drinking a jar of maple syrup, which is sometimes how I feel about like the Bush's baked beans. Like it's like too much, you know what I mean? And they have a nice zing to them. This I have a video for. Somebody asked, do I have a video from canning ham?
Will you show us how to can ham?
So have I done a video? I don't know if I've done a video, but if I have one after come back here, I'll have the canning playlist linked. And if not, yes, I can definitely do a video canning ham. It's really simple, and it's nice to have. So
hello from Wichita, Kansas. Thanks for joining us, and hello from Louisiana. Thanks for hopping in here, guys.
Debbie here from Oklahoma.
Yep. Let's see, what else we got?
This is Sam's favorite, and this is one of those things
This is one of my favorites.
I never thought about canning until Sam liked it so much that I was like, well, how am I going to keep this? How can I make this for him during the year, because it's a seasonal item? And that is homemade cranberry sauce.
Oh, it is so good compared to like store-bought cranberry sauce, which tastes nothing like this.
it.
I swear it tastes nothing like it.
So if you're watching internationally, we discovered cranberries are kind of an American food. So cranberry is a fall food, and it's really only available in America around Thanksgiving, which is November.
That's
it's a very short time.
Traditional item to have in Thanksgiving.
And cranberries are kind of like, if you ever are really interested, Google how cranberries are like grown and harvested. It's strange, and then you can see why they're only available one time a year. But but Sam loves cranberry sauce, and he eats it like when I roast a chicken, he just likes to put the cranberry sauce on top. It's really tangy.
Just about any kind of meat you can put the cranberry sauce on. Almost
bitter, and it's really good. And so I'm at Thanksgiving time, when there's millions of bags at Walmart, I'll buy like 10 or 11 bags of the whole cranberries, like the fresh cranberries, and I'll make just a giant pot of cranberry sauce.
It's a big old vat.
Like I'm talking sauce. Like a 6-gallon stock pot of cranberry sauce. And I take a bunch of it to Thanksgiving, and then the rest of it I can. And then during the year, if we're grilling pork chops or chicken, he can have his Thanksgiving special anytime. You just warm it up. It's almost, cranberry sauce is almost like a jam. It's just a little bit chunkier. But it's super easy to can, and then it's like a flavor that you don't get to taste a lot, but now we have it all year round. So
let's see. Refining Roots says, the husband loves for me to can onions, to have caramelized onions for burgers. It's so nice to have them ready in the pantry. Delicious.
Onions.
And then Anne asked,
that's a good, Refining Roots, that's actually a really good idea. I was thinking about canning onions the other day out of selfish reasons of how much I hate chopping onions, and I was like, if I just put some goggles on and canned like 30 jars of onions, I could just go through the pain once and then have my onions. So I might do that. That's a really good idea. Anne asked, is the ham cured or uncured? This is uncured ham from a local butcher. Lady in the Mountains, I don't know if she's here today. She would know. Somebody can pop in if you know. I don't know that you are supposed to can cured meats, because sometimes they have nitrates or the nitrites in them. But I know people can bacon, but maybe that's uncured bacon. This is uncured. You would need to check and make your decision about the safety guidelines for cured meats. That's a great question.
Pete says the cranberry sauce on the mashed potatoes is pretty good too.
Pete, giving me some ideas here.
I know. Yeah, I basically use cranberry sauce like you would
it
gravy.
Just pours
you
it
just
on
kind
the
of
plate.
pour it on the plate. Whatever it hits, it'll probably taste better. That's kind of how I use cranberry sauce. And Holly says, I make a strawberry cranberry jam.
That sounds delicious.
Grandkids requested every Christmas.
Holly, you're going to need to send me that recipe, because I'm going to need to try that next fall when the cranberries come out.
Yeah,
that sounds really good. All right, what's next? Pick a jar.
Let's see.
All right, this is my favorite, and I'm going to be making a video of this coming up soon, because this is my final jar. This is bacon jalapeno soup, which came about purely as an accident. I had a lot of random things to use up, and I put them all in a pot, and it was like the best soup I've ever had. And it's got bacon ends, beans, some fresh jalapenos from the garden, some tomato. It's in like a tomato base, like a tomato sauce based soup, and it's kind of got a little kick. But I warm it up with a little bit of cheese and sour cream, and it's almost like a bean stew, and it has great flavor. So we'll be making a video on this one coming up, because like I said, this is my final jar. And it's really good, and it's definitely a warm, hearty winter lunch kind of soup. So but any kind of pre-made soup, not necessarily the specific one, when you're able to home can them, you have a lot more control over the preservatives you put in, especially salt. Soup at the store is just loaded with salt, which a little bit of salt's good for you, but we don't need to, go crazy here and kill our kidneys. So you have a lot more control over the salt content and things like that. A lot of time, actually, I'll can soups and I don't put any spices in them or anything. And then when I open them up is when I kind of season them how I'm feeling for that day. And I like that. I don't know. I like the ability to kind of make my choice for the day, especially when it's like a vegetable soup where you could go a lot of directions with the flavor.
Could you show us your cranberry recipe too, please?
Yes, I know I have a cranberry canning recipe video, and I will make sure if you check through when this goes posts back as a regular video, if you check in the description, all that will be there. But cranberry sauce is basically just 1 part cranberries, 1 part orange juice, 1 part sugar. I'm not saying it's that good for you, but it's delicious. And it's like a jam because it has that sugar in there. So,
let's see.
Beast Bear, Minster. We're doing good. We're feeling good today. It's a good day. Iris Lady, I make strawberry currant jam. Nice and tart, even better than strawberry cranberry. I don't know that I've ever had currants. I'm trying to think.
I don't think I have either.
It might be something new to try.
Yep.
All right, what else we got? We got 3 more. Dun, 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 dun. The potato. I like canning potatoes. And this is the one that I find a lot of people ask, like, why do you bother canning potatoes? Because potatoes are relatively cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
All year round, really. But after Thanksgiving, potatoes get especially cheap because stores buy those 50-pound bags of potatoes for people to make their mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving, and then they don't want 50-pound bags of potatoes laying around their store because people won't buy them after the holidays are over, so they mark them way down. And so then I'll go in and I'll buy an incredible amount of potatoes and I'll can them for the year. And so it's a little bit of a cost savings, but like I said, potatoes aren't that expensive really any time of the year. But the nice thing about having canned potatoes is they've already been peeled, they've already been diced, and they've already been fully cooked. So if I'm busy all day and I come home and, I've had some meat in the crock pot, I can make mashed potatoes from this just as quickly as I can make mashed potatoes from like instant potato flakes.
Mm-hmm.
But the quality is much better, no weird preservatives. I can add, really good quality milk and butter and make them just how I like them, and it doesn't take me any longer than instant potatoes. I also use these for making like fried breakfast potatoes, or if I'm doing a roast in the crock pot, like tonight we roasted chicken in the crock pot and I dumped these in like an hour before the chicken was done so they would kind of warm up and grab some of the flavor, but they were already fully cooked, so saved me from having to peel and dice a whole bunch of potatoes.
Iris Lady says currants have pectin, so you don't need all that sugar.
That sounds
and
good.
Pam says, what kind of potatoes do you can? I canned twice, and both times they smelled like dirty feet.
All right, so let me tell you a trick.
Doesn't sound very good.
I'll tell you a trick. So I can russet potatoes, which is like the American like big baked potatoes. You want to make sure. So what I do is I wash the potatoes with the skins on in the sink. Try to get rid of all the extra dirt, and then I peel the potatoes and dice them, and then I put them in a big pot of cold water while I'm dicing them. And I do that, and I let them sit in the cold water for just a little bit and let a lot of that starch lift off. And then I drain those, and I put those drained potatoes in jars, and I add hot boiling water. It's called raw pack. But because we've gotten rid of a lot of that extra starch by soaking them in the cold water, I feel like it makes a better final product. I know it's a lot of steps, and the washing is kind of a pain, and you're like, why am I washing them if I'm going to peel them and rinse them anyway? But it makes a difference. It makes sure that you don't get that weird grassy dirt taste in your potatoes. So, okay, 2 more.
Pro tip, for the potatoes.
Yeah, thank you. They are pretty yummy. It's something I really enjoy doing. So this is canned beef stew, and it is a little watery because when you're canning, you're really not supposed to add thickeners. And so what I'll do with this is I'll add a little cornstarch to thicken it up. Beef stew is the only thing that I can where I actually pre-season it how I like it, because the only way I'm going to use this is as beef stew. So I don't need to worry about changing the flavor. Let me think. But I can it in both pints and quarts, and I really like the pints because if it's a day where maybe Sam's packing a lunch, what you can do is just take this jar to work and pop the metal lid off, and you can heat this jar in the microwave, and then you just bring it back home and wash it. So you don't have to like pack something in containers and then wash this and then bring the containers back and wash that.
Ready
like
to
you
go.
can just grab this jar and go. So that's nice.
Let's see. Beast Bear, what days or times do you go live? We usually go live on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central.
Right.
It is normally, every so often we'll have a week or two that we skip because we've got
Stuff going
life
on.
Things that pop in, but usually Monday nights around 7 p.m. Central Standard
And we
Time.
try to post in the community on YouTube 24 hours before, so sometime on Sunday, whether or not we're going live, just so everybody knows. But we try to be consistent, but we have a lot of kids and they have things that they do, and sometimes that gets trumps live streaming. So Pam, you're welcome. And there are, if you guys ever have canning questions, I am definitely not like
the table.
an expert, but I've learned a lot over the years, and I had so many questions that I didn't have anybody to ask when I was starting.
Well, it's good to go ahead. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
And I made a lot of mistakes, and I had to throw away a lot of food because I made a lot of mistakes. So I just I want you to not make those mistakes so that you can get started and enjoy everything that you can. So
I think it's good too to ask your canning questions in a setting like this because we have a lot of other people here that can too.
If I don't know, they might know.
Flora doesn't know. Yeah, we've got other people that can help with that. And canning is one of those things where there's a lot of knowledge that can be gained just because there's so many different things you can and different ways to do it. But Beth asks, have you canned chili?
I got here late. Okay, so actually I have never canned chili. I do can chili beans. I dry, I don't think it's called, I can't think of the word. I put dry beans and I spice them and add boiling water and can them like that. And they cook in the jar and it gives you a firmer bean. And then when we want chili, I just make it how we want it that day because we don't always do it the same way. But you can absolutely can chili. You can make your chili however you like it and just bring it to a boil. Don't cook it a really long time like you would usually do where you like simmer it and let all the flavors get together. Just bring it to a boil with all your ingredients and can that. And it's a 90 minutes because it's a meat product. But that 90 minutes in the pressure canner, that's going to do all the work that simmering it at home does, if that makes sense. And chili is one a lot of people keep on the shelves. Just because it's a good, easy, like winter meal. So
she says she's wanting a canning friend to help teach her how.
If you know somebody, just volunteer to come help them. Especially this time of the year, they're probably up to their eyeballs in green beans or something, and would love somebody to help. And then you'll learn, and and also it's just fun. It's fun doing things together. That was one
by
thing.
Yourself is
this weekend that was fun.
Not as much fun.
I can a lot, and the girls do help me, but they're still little, and sometimes it's nice to have like grown-up conversations with people and having people come. Not only were we getting work done, but we were just having a great time visiting and like doing life together. So
B-Spare says this is interesting. We never can stuff over here.
So yeah, canning is not, I'm not going to say it's just like an American thing because we have some viewers who are from Europe and they can, but it looks different. They use all glass jars. They're called Weck jars a lot of times. But it's not as popular, but it's very popular in the United States. I think a lot of that, too, just has to go with the food system in the United States, and there's a lot of food deserts or areas where food isn't easily accessible, or like us, where we have to go a long way for food, or we have to grow it ourselves. And so being able to preserve it long term is really important to us, and that's not necessarily the same everywhere in the world where there's a lot of closer communities. So
let's see, Charlie says we've got an old National No. 7 canner that belonged to my mom and has been sitting in the garage for I don't know how long. Is there anything besides the gasket to worry about?
Charlie, this is a great question. So let's say you go to the yard sale and there's a canner and you're like, ooh, $10, and you want to take a chance, but you don't want to blow up. So there's a couple things to check. First, open the lid, rubber gasket, and all the things I talked about before. And honestly, if you're buying it used, I would just buy a new gasket for it. Like, just don't take chance. Just it's $10. Throw it away and get a new one. The other thing is whether or not your pressure meter on top is going to be accurate. Most conservation departments in the United States offer free at their extension offices to test your pressure thing for you. And if it's broken, they'll even, if you buy a replacement, they'll even help you replace it. Like, it's a cool service by the USDA just to help keep people safe canning at home. So if you wanted to test it, or, the pressure meters, depending on the canner you have, but most of them are pretty cheap too, $15 for a pressure meter. I would replace that. If the other thing you want to look at is give the canner a good look over. Does it look dented or warped? Or does the lid fit securely? When you put a lid on a pressure canner, it almost feels like a hydraulic, like it sucks in and it turns, and it shouldn't wiggle at all. If that all looks okay, then it's a very simple device. You don't have like computer chips and stuff in there that can go bad. If all those things look good, it should be good to go.
I'm sure if you took it to the USDA people too, they would help you, kind of give you some tips on that a little bit.
Yep.
making sure that it all fits
Joanne
together.
asks, do all soups process for the same time? And the answer is no. It depends what is in your soup. You always want to defer to the thing with the longest processing time that's in your soup. So if your soup has any meat in it, automatically makes it 90 minutes for quarts. But if you're doing an all vegetable soup, you would kind of have to do a little bit of looking in like what vegetables are in your soup, and you're gonna go with what vegetable needs the longest canning time, if that makes sense. So if you're just getting started, really the easiest way to do it is to like go on the Ball website, Ball Canning, and just use one of their soup recipes, because they'll have done all of that for you. And then when you get really comfortable canning, you kind of know what things need, and you'll be like, oh, you know, this soup has mushrooms in it, and mushrooms are a long canner, so this is going to be in the canner for a long time. Things like that.
Let's see. Beth says, I have a friend who's teaching me slow but sure. I started with dill pickles last month.
Pickles are
Nice.
a great way to start. They're very easy, and you can even get the packets if you didn't want to stress out about the right spices, the way you like them, and just very easy. So pickles is a great way to start.
Kimberly says, hello,
Welcome.
family. I grew up on a homestead. I just didn't
Yep.
realize it. There's a lot of people like that, I think.
And Joanne, you're very welcome. Okay, the last thing here. You gonna get the little man?
Yeah. Do you want me to give him a bun?
Sure. Or he can come say hi. I mean, we're almost done. All right, the last thing. This is like the best. And if I don't have a video on this, I will add it to the list, but I'm pretty sure I do. This is barbecue pork, barbecue pulled pork. And this recipe I got from Ball Canning. I'm 99% sure I did this last year. I'm like having flashbacks. It is so good. And I love this because it's really versatile.
It's the baby.
And not in the way that you think too, like, hi, Knitter P. Sometimes I crack open a couple jars, I put them in the crock pot on low all day. And then, you know, it's warm for sandwiches at the end of the day, and I just didn't have to worry about heating anything up. And sometimes I'll pop this can open and heat it up on the stove for like 5 minutes so it's nice and hot, and we'll use that in sandwiches. I use it in poor man's meal, which is like potatoes and onions and a meat, and it makes it really, really yummy and spicy. So, but barbecue pork is something that I canned on a whim once, and it's like one of our favorites. It's good every time, and it's always really tender because it's been pressure canned. So, everybody says hi. Look, such cutie. He's so sweet. He's so cute. Are you cute? Hi, Knitter P. Show everybody all your teeth now. Oh, you want your mommy. And Holly, thank you. I will have, watermelon jelly. The girls would think that was cool. So we are now, since we're on a different diet right now for Annie's needs, or have to lower our sugar, I've been looking a lot at like old-fashioned canning recipes which don't use sugar for jellies. So we're gonna see kind of how that goes, because I've always just made jelly with pectin, because that's the way my grandmother taught me. She would always make apple jelly, and you would just use pectin, but then you need like 7 cups of sugar, which, I mean, jelly, you put like a tablespoon, you know, on your bread. It's not like you're sitting there eating the whole jar at one sitting. But now that we have to be really conscious of our sugar consumption, I'm starting to look at natural recipes that you don't add pectin. Oh, Meter P! You don't add pectin, and you don't add sugar, and you really it's basically just the fruit cooked way down. So if any of you guys have done that and have good resources for that, I'm listening, because this is a new one for me, and I want to make sure that, you know, I do it well. I don't want, you know, jelly that's more like juice. Like I want jam or I think it's usually jam is what you do, but I want, you know, a jam that will be spreadable on toast and things without all that sugar. So you silly.
Hey, you little goober.
Yeah, he got a new haircut. If you missed that video, Aunt B did a great job, and he looks like such a big kid now, because he's gonna turn 1 in like 2 weeks, huh? You're so much trouble.
He just wants to grab the computer.
Yeah, he does.
And
He
the
sees
phone.
himself. And your little chubby belly. All right, so those are all the things that we can, and I just want to encourage you to consider starting canning if that's something that's possible for you, and if it's not something that's possible for you, that's okay too. Canned goods, you can buy canned versions of all of these, and just stocking your pantry a little bit of time. Canned goods are shelf stable for the long haul, and it's a great way to make sure that you have a little bit of food security. so that whether inflation goes up or down, you never really have to worry about what you're going to feed your family next week. So, yes, Sam Jr. Yeah, that's your mom, and that's true.
Yep. Yeah, I know. No way it's been a year.
We all know you were your mom's favorite baby anyway, right? So no way it's been a year. It feels like that, but that's it goes fast, doesn't it, little man? I started watching around the time he was born. Doesn't seem like it's been that long. I know, it goes so fast. So thank you all. I think we're gonna call it a night. Sam's got some more studying to do. Are you gonna say bye? You say bye.
Say bye.
Bye. We'll have got a new canning video coming up this week, and we have a Whole Foods grocery haul, and I'll show you the menu plan that we're using too. Because I don't particularly like menu planning, and it helps me when other people show me what they do. So we'll share that all with you. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you really soon.
Thanks for hopping in. Let's see.
So, yeah, and if you find that recipe, our email is somewhere in the description too, or you can message us on Facebook. Send it to me. I'm just collecting all the information I can right now. So,
you guys have a good week. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Oh, I can't get it.